Yo, what's up? It's your boy Super Tom, the boss chap. Welcome to Sony 365. What we're going to talk about today is the Xperia Pro and how it fits in with the One Mark II and the One Mark III and why almost everyone has got it wrong about the Xperia Pro. Also, we're going to talk about who it's for and exactly what it actually really does. You've got to hand it to Phil Schiller and just the guys at Apple in general. When it comes to marketing, I mean, it's clever stuff what they're doing. The thing is, when I watched the iPhone 11 Pro launch, I couldn't believe the amount of times Phil said the word Pro, even when talking about the fonts being Pro. I mean, wow, it
is so pro. You're gonna love it.
So pro. But the thing is, technically speaking, it isn't actually Pro. It's a more expensive version of the iPhone 11 and iPhone 11, 12 and so on. But it isn't actually more Pro, really.
That we call Pro.
Yes, it's a bit heavier because the materials are more premium. And sure, it's got rose gold or, whatever, and it's very fancy. And that's terrific. But it isn't more Pro because Pro is short for professional, engaged in a specific activity as one's main paid occupation rather than a pastime. So what Apple's really doing is they're saying the Pro version is more expensive, they're using it as a marketing label. Let's talk about turbos quickly. I don't want to dwell on turbos too much in an Xperia Pro video, but turbo technology in the 80s was a really, really big deal. A Swiss invention, by the way. Turbos were so revolutionary that the word turbo actually started in itself to become cool. So you could buy things like these amazing sunglasses here, and they would have turbo written on them as a way of basically the manufacturer would make those versions more expensive, so people would trade up, spend more. And really the iPhone, what they're doing here is that it's the iPhone 11 Turbo, the iPhone 12 Turbo. Sure, it's not professional, it's not turbo, but over on the Sony side of things here, this is professional stuff. What does that mean? Well, this is what the phone does. There's nothing in the world from any manufacturer that does this. It is absolutely unique. So here's what's happened here. You take an Xperia 1 Mark II, you put this polycarbonate cladding on the back to improve the 5G signal. In fact, there's 4 antennas in here. I cannot imagine there is a phone available anywhere in the world that gets 5G signal better than this device. It hasn't got any rose gold fanciness about it because it's a professional device. Turbo, professional device. It works incredibly well as an all-in-one sort of hybrid solution. If you want to go out with your mirrorless camera, it doesn't have to be a Sony mirrorless camera, but may as well be, right? Because they're great. We have an A7S III we're recording this on. In fact, we've got 2 in the studio. You go out with your mirrorless camera, you record in 4K, you, with the HDMI cable, get that straight in to your Xperia Pro above the camera here, 10-bit, all the quality, all the 4K goodness to the highest possible standard you could ever want. And then the 5G will get that where it needs to go quicker than lightning, I shouldn't say lightning because it reminds me of the lightning port, which is a USB 2 port. It's not Pro, is it? But you see what I mean. People will say, come on, man, it's called lightning. Have you seen how fast lightning is? But here's the thing, the HDMI is amazing, of course, and super useful in this context. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples on who this is perfect for in a short moment. But next to it, we still have USB Type 3, a Type C. What this does is it works very well as a monitor. It's 4K OLED. We've done only a tiny amount of testing so far, and we'll give you a proper report back on how good this is to use in our next video, which is going to be with Gadgetsboy, by the way. He's been a friend of the channel going back years and years and years. We really like him, and if you haven't followed him on Instagram or YouTube, whatever, you're going to see in the next video. So, use case scenario then. I have a sneaky feeling that a lot of the people who have bought the Xperia Pro, which has been on sale in Japan and the USA for, I think, 3 months now. Oh, by the way, if you want to pick this up in the UK, Wex, they are your guys. And there's a really good introductory offer with some cool free stuff. I'm going to put a link to that in the description below. We're not sponsored by Wex. We're not sponsored by Sony either. We don't receive money from anyone, really. I can imagine a television network covering sporting events thinking that this device, the Xperia Pro, is just a gift from the heavens, because what we can do here with this is capture that beautiful 4K footage and get it quicker than is imaginable almost back to where it needs to go I mean, effectively in real time, pretty much. I mean, you don't need to have all of these things. Look at all that junk there. You don't need all of that because you just have this. You see what I mean? Swiss Army knife. That's what this phone is. Yes, it's a phone. Yes, it's basically a 1 Mark II, but it's been turbocharged to give you all of this truly professional amazingness. But apart from that use case scenario, who else would buy this? Well, I would argue there is a very strong case if you are all about videography, and it would help if you're a Sony guy as well, and you're into live streaming and you want that to be done properly and in a very elegant, minimalist solution without lugging around laptops, you got to look at this device. You have to consider it. And that's why I want to test this out with our friend Gadgetsboy, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The other thing I want to say is that let's imagine you've gone out, you've got you've done 3 or 4 video shoots, photo shoots, you've got all that information there and your editor's on the phone. I need this information right now. There's no device that's going to be able to get all of that you've just captured straight over. FTP. We're going to cover this in more detail in the next video that I do with Gadgetsboy. But in terms of not just live streaming, but actually getting information where it needs to go fast, in general, this is a win. Sure, other differences between the Xperia Pro and the 1 Mark II are you've got 512 gigs onboard storage, and of course it's expandable. You can get another terabyte in there as well. I love the fact you don't need the ejector tools to deal with any of these ports. It's designed for a professional. It's so pro.
It is so pro.
Now, I've noticed, to put it mildly, and I'm sure you have too, that a lot of the time YouTubers, even the really big YouTubers, they get it wrong when it comes to Xperia devices. These YouTubers, we have to remember their job is to be super popular. It's the only thing that matters. All they care about is subscribers, popularity, etc., because that's more money for them. By the way, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and social media. Anyway, when it comes to a brand like Sony, when it comes to the Xperia brand specifically, they can be dismissive. That winds me up for a number of reasons. But when it comes to why that's happening, it's because the Xperia brand is such a niche, small player within the industry. Sure, Sony makes all the sensors for half the industry and all that, but that's a separate thing. When it comes to Xperia market share, it's tiny, a fraction of 1%. But I would argue the Xperia Pro is a fraction of that fraction of 1%. And so a lot of the time the YouTubers are like, this is crazy, Sony, you're never going to sell volume if you keep doing these crazy niche devices. Sony knows this. It's for a tiny percentage of buyers. But what it does is it serves that narrow niche market that needs to stream in 5G, beautiful 4K content. It services that narrow niche market incredibly well. And there's one other reason why I think we should get really excited about this device. Hit the like button if you live in a country where it's currently impossible to buy Xperia devices, and leave a comment. In fact, go to the community tab and see the thing that I just put there, because it's about exactly that. I want to find a way of helping people who live in countries where they can't get Xperias. So this device is exclusively available, I believe, through our friends at Wex. One of our commenters, who's very, very switched on, living in India, had a very good point. You can't buy Xperia devices in India, so why not have mirrorless camera, Sony resellers in India, why not have them stock Xperia devices and get them to the Sony fans that way? And I think this is the first phone that Wex has sold on their website or in their shops and so on. And it got me thinking, by bringing the Xperia brand ever closer to alpha, is there an opportunity to make these phones available to people who buy alpha cameras, which is a lot of people? That could be and have the Xperia brand go global again, as it was before. It's just an interesting thought, right? So with Gadgetsboy, we're going to give you the roundup of how well this device performs. We haven't had it long enough to give you a proper verdict on that yet, of course. But what are the challenges that the Xperia Pro faces? First of all, most YouTubers are going to get it wrong, dismiss it, and miss the point entirely. The second thing is, this is Sony we're talking about. So the 1 Mark II was announced, was it back in February, I think, last year? Didn't go on sale really to kind of like May, and I think a lot of markets couldn't get it till June or later or whatever. That doesn't help, does it? It doesn't help. And then, of course, with the Xperia Pro, it was announced, and only in the US, I think, and Japan was it on sale. Now we can get it in specific European and UK markets. The unfortunate thing is that this launch has happened after the 1 Mark III and 5 Mark III and 10 Mark III launched, the new 2021 phones. So basically, 1 Mark II, we know about the 1 Mark III in terms of the specs, although I haven't got one in the studio right now, and now we know about the Xperia Pro, which we do have in the studio. So when we look at these three devices, like, is it really such a big deal with the unfortunate launch? Well, yes and no. The important thing to remember is that the 1 Mark II and the 1 Mark III are consumer devices. The Xperia Pro is a professional device, and it's not irrelevant because it's still running the old camera, technically soon to be 1 generation old camera tech on the 1 Mark II. The fact that the 1 Mark III is out any day now, we hope, or any week now, or any month now, or something, it just makes it that little bit more difficult to get really fired up about buying the Xperia Pro. If the Xperia Pro was launching now with the camera tech from the 1 Mark III and the slightly brighter screen, because I have a feeling that might be a bit of an issue in terms of using the Xperia Pro as a monitor, then it would just be a lot easier. So again, we're falling into this kind of pattern of, it would be really nice if the launches could be streamlined, global, and have these devices go on pre-order as soon as they're launched, and without that kind of gap of 2-3 months or whatever it happens to be. But you know what? In terms of challenges, I'm not too worried, because there is nothing, as far as I know of, anywhere in the world that does what all of these things do combined in just this elegant form factor. For that reason alone, we should applaud Sony, but before we get too carried away, let's see in this next video with Gadgetsboy how good it really is in the field. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom. Super Tom. See you next time. Wait. You have to check out this channel. My friend Klim in Russia. I'm going to be doing a collab with him in Russia when it's safe and legal to travel and stuff. He's done a fantastic new video in English on the 1 Mark II and the 1 Mark III. The link is in the video description below. Check him out, give him a like and a comment and a sub and all those things, and encourage him, because he's doing this amazing Xperia content in English. The Global Xperia Alliance, people. Check the community tab here.
Bob the Bonsai.
Oh yeah. Should we put him in now?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. Oh, let's put him all the way back here this time, so he's next to me. And then yeah. If you got to the end of this video, first of all, congratulations. I don't know how you did it. We forgot to put Bob in.